Hi, Amy.
Happy
We watched Match Me Abroad Season 2, Episode 9 yesterday. Did you
episode 9.
enjoy it? Yes, I know. We're getting towards the end and I don't want it to end. I want it to keep going. Please, please, please keep going and never stop.
I thought this episode, again, was so good. I really enjoyed it. I found it engaging, exciting, heartwarming, and irritating at the same time, but less irritation and more heartwarming. What was your review?
I loved it. You sent me a text message saying that you thought it was intriguing, but you didn't give me more because I hadn't seen it at that point. And then I was like, what does she mean? Were you talking about Harold?
I was talking about a number of them, actually. There's a lot of loose ends, and I'm
Yes.
really intrigued to see where this is going to go because it's so organic and less produced. So it's not nearly as predictable as everything else.
We have a comment from a listener that was sent to us last week. This is from
Go on.
Kimberly Joe, and her comment is this: can all women agree right now that even if Tony is the last man on earth, we still wouldn't create a child with him? Please and thank you.
Yes.
Very well said. Thank you, Kimberly Joe. That is an excellent comment. I wholeheartedly agree with you. Tony is
Insufferable.
even the kind of man that if he was the last one on the planet, all of us would avoid like the plague.
I mean, if procreating with him would lead to the extinction of the human race, I think that would be more appropriate.
Yes, goodbye humanity. It was nice, fun, but no, please, no more Tony.
No.
Okay, let's dive into the show. But first, let me do a quick 1 and 2. 1, rate, review, and follow us wherever you listen to the podcast. 2, watch the podcast on YouTube at 90 Day Fiancé. Honestly, shall we begin?
Yes.
Dear Harold is still on his second date with Amber.
This began in a way that I never anticipated, with toilet humor.
As did I. That was very out of left field. I did not picture either Harold nor Amber, who seems to be somewhat conservative, bringing up this kind of topic as a conversation during the second date. Surprising.
She said in one of the, I guess it was her after the last date, maybe, that, she understands that he's only here for a short period of time. Normally she would be a little more conservative with the things that she's talking about, but in order to reach another level or whatever she said, she's going to ask the questions and she's going to move it forward. This woman is really living up to her word, and I find her very, very enjoyable. And I love the fact that she's asking him questions. Oh, I have a bunch of questions that I want to ask you. Phenomenal. That means that she's interested. She's intrigued. She wants to get to know him more. I think that's hugely positive. I love that she's so sex positive. And I also love the fact that she said, when Harold accidentally kissed her on the lips, she wasn't turned off by it.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of those things because there was a lot of really great moments of connection during this date.
Yes.
One of the things that I was thinking when Amber brought up the subject of toilet matters, I thought, is this a way for her to segue into a conversation about something else that is even more intimate that she wants to talk about? And this is the thing that she's practiced because, like you mentioned, she is conservative. This is an awkward thing to bring up, especially in your second date. So I felt like she was directing the conversation. She was steering it towards sex because that's what she really wanted to talk about. And that was wonderful that she felt comfortable enough to go ahead and bring up this topic. The way that Harold responds to her when she brings up the topic was also wonderful.
Yes.
He was open. He was honest. He was putting his cards on the table. Nothing to hide here. Let's talk about it.
I thought it was so beautiful. And I also loved that you could still see his awkwardness. She would ask him a question and he would give her that beautiful smile. And then he would wipe it right off his face because he's thinking about the next, like he's considering his answer to the next question.
Yeah.
And he's actively listening to her. I thought it was just such a beautiful interaction. I really appreciate the fact that she was asking important questions, knowing that he has a short period of time there. And I love the fact that she communicates. I'm loving everything about this, if you can't tell.
Yes, there are lots of, I love the fact that.
Yeah, that she communicates her expectations and her worries. And she also identifies the disconnector with her culture versus her outlook on sex. Because we've heard Dolly say Singaporeans take things very, very slow and you shouldn't have any of these expectations. But she's blowing everything out of the water and she's doing things on her own time within her own comfort level,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's really aligning with his timeline. I mean, we'll get to that, but I really appreciate the fact that she's taking the chance to ask these questions, even
Mhm.
though they might be uncomfortable. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, what you would have expected this kind of conversation to be very awkward, it ends up being an honest discussion
Mhm.
that is refreshingly healthy.
Healthy. Thank you. That was a word that didn't even cross my mind, but yes.
And I have to mention that I am remarkably impressed and surprised by both Amber and Harold in the answer to the question of where's the most exotic location where they've had sex. Way to go, guys. I
Proud of
was
you.
not expecting those answers at all. I love that they are completely surprising us in the way that they've been living their lives and the way that they think, because the outwardness, the outward shell seems to be one way, but then when you get a little deeper, it's completely different and much more multifaceted and dynamic than you could possibly have imagined.
Get a little deeper, am I right? Yeah, I was also surprised, and they surprised each other, which I thought was really beautiful. It was so lighthearted, a necessary conversation though, because then you're learning the other person's boundaries and where they're willing to explore. And I think I was more surprised by Harold with his sex in the middle of the day in the car, though it was in a field. Just I good for you. I that's my misconception
Yeah,
of both of them.
absolutely. I agree with you. I held the same misconception. I was so happy to see that that misconception was just that. The reality is completely different. These people they're awesome. The other thing that I just adored about this second date was when she talked about the pleasant surprise that it was for Harold to have kissed her by accident. I was not expecting that. I thought that she would have been turned off by the kiss that was supposed to be a cheek kiss and turned into a full-on mouth kiss. But she loved it.
I In my notes, I said I'm surprised that it didn't give her the ick because again, Singaporeans as a culture, they work very slowly. They move very slowly in relationships. So for her to have actually enjoyed it, I thought was just wow. Because Harold was like, I made a big mistake. I can't believe I did that. But she liked it. And I really don't think that he was very conscientious about it when it happened. It was just almost like a reflex.
Mhm.
So it wasn't like, I'm gonna steal a kiss and be gross like Tony would have been in that same situation.
Yeah.
He was very respectful, and I think I mentioned this last week that he knew what his mistake was or what it could have been. And so for her to take it in a positive way it makes my heart soar for the two of them. I love their dynamic together.
They're definitely progressing much more quickly than I would have anticipated that they would when we
Mhm.
first met them. There's still the question for both of them, or at least for Amber, about autism being possibly genetic. Seems like it is. I didn't know that. And that there's a greater chance of them having a child who is also autistic than of a couple who isn't. So that's a concern for her. He seems to lay her fears to rest on that subject, which is great. And then he's talking about how he's now open and willing to go through the various tests that Amber has for a potential partner, potential husband in meeting her friends and family. Another really positive sign that the relationship is progressing in a good direction.
And again, her asking the important questions.
Yeah.
If his autism will affect their future children, she's obviously thinking about their future and
Mhm.
thinking about what it would be like to have kids with him. And I think that he has the most incredibly positive outlook with this. He knows what to look out for, he knows what specialists to engage, and he's been through it. So it's not like two neurotypical adults having a child who is autistic and both of them are just, what? I don't know how to deal with this. And I feel like the way that he would treat that child is exactly how that child deserves to be treated. And I just see so much love and positivity, or the possibility of love. We're not saying that they are in love at this point, but it's so positive. I think that they have such a fantastic outlook, and I really hope that they continue with this upward trajectory. However,
Yes. Shall we discuss the meeting with Dolly?
I
The
think
debrief.
I think he really needs to slow his roll, because he was saying that the idea of proposing has been weighing heavily on his mind, and I was like, Harold, no, you were with Michaela for 2 years and you didn't get engaged. So why do you feel so rushed now?
Well, this is the question. And it seems pretty obvious to me that his fear, he expresses how having left Prague before when he left Michaela without solidifying the relationship, without getting engaged with her, made him feel vulnerable and he thinks is the cause of their relationship falling apart. So he definitely has this fear that maybe if he doesn't lock it down with Amber when he leaves Singapore, the relationship will dissolve. He'll have nothing left. He doesn't want to do that again. So obviously, his knee jerk reaction would be to try to get engaged with him as quickly as possible so that that is not going to be the outcome of him going home. Of course, there's no guarantees that that would be the case, even if he did go through with it.
I think that he needs to accept that finding love does not equate to an immediate proposal. You need to get to know the other person. And even though there are fireworks at this point, and we're so excited for them, you can't rush into things because, again, they're having these difficult conversations and these very honest questions are being asked.
What did you think of his idea to have Amber come to the US to meet his family rather than proposing to her right away, which is what he wants to do? Dolly says, no, 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 don't do that. Be patient. Wait. His alternative plan seems to me just as intense a situation as proposing.
I thought that it was a good compromise for him. Instead of proposing, introduce her to his life so she gets to know more about him, as opposed to it being, I propose to you, now meet my people. I think it actually might be a really good idea, because is he just going to continue to go to Singapore? And again, where are they going to live? But that would also give them more time together. She's going to see him in his comfort zone with his family, his friends. Is she going to feel comfortable with them? Because he's made this decision to go to Singapore to meet her in her comfort space, which is her country. I think it also depends on whether or not she's going to feel comfortable with introducing him to her family and her friends before he leaves. I think he really needs to take a step back and let her lead, as she has been. She's been so great at it and so great with her communication. I hope it continues, and that they allow each other this space to be able to grow separately and together,
Well,
and based on their own comfort.
what you said there about her taking the lead so far in their dating, well, I agree with you. Yes, she has been leading quite a bit, and he's been making an effort to step up, which I think is great because there is the potential for them to both lead equally, which is the ideal, right? Or to take turns, one lead, then one follow, and opposite. But Dolly has made a point of saying that Singaporean women want a man who is the head of the household, who can lead the family. And so when she said, no, that idea of you bringing Amber to the United States to see how you live, what your life is like, isn't a good one. I was a little bit surprised, because wouldn't that have given Amber the opportunity to see Harold in his element, Harold being on the job, Harold earning his money, knowing that he can support a family. And like you said, being in his comfort zone where he is able to be assertive and relaxed, comfortable, rather than being in a foreign country where he doesn't speak the language and is very much up in the air. So that was surprising to me. But I did agree with Dolly that it is a little bit of a bold move to bring her all the way to the States. Is he going to pay for all of that? Like, it just seems like such a huge, huge investment of his time and money to bring her when there is no agreement to at least be looking at getting married, not necessarily being proposed to in that moment, but looking at that as a future possibility.
I can see that. However, I wouldn't be surprised if he did pay for it because he does seem like he's not frivolous with his money. He makes excellent money doing what he does. He's off for work for months at a time. I think him giving her the opportunity to lead at this point is setting him up better to introduce him to the rest of his life
Mhm.
because, I appreciate you. I respect you. I want to learn about you. And now here's your opportunity to learn about me. She's taken him to restaurants that she enjoys. Now he can take her to restaurants that he enjoys and just see the life that he leads.
Mhm.
Because we've all seen it where, you date someone and they put on this front. And then when you finally get to meet the other people in their lives or, you go to their apartment and it's completely different than what you had imagined.
Yeah.
Whether or not this is appropriate for them at their time it's obviously up to them. I would love to watch it. Here I am going on about the love. Um, I just want to see how they would mesh in the US, whether or not they're planning on moving there.
I think we're going to have some interesting developments coming up. Looks like he is planning a grand gesture for her. What it is, who knows?
We don't know, but the fact that he's like, okay, well, if I'm not going to propose, I feel like I do need to make a grand gesture. Like this man is he's so cognizant of his behavior and the effects on the other person.
The final thing that I'm going to leave everybody with that I think is the key now that Harold needs to tackle is letting go of his fear. His
Yes.
fear has really shaped his past relationship and his present relationships. Whether or not he's going to be able to get to a point where he can let go of that fear in order to have a different kind of future with Amber or somebody else, it remains to be seen. But I really hope that just like with everything else that he's taken on board and incorporated and learned from in his life about dating, that he is able to do this at some point, that somebody can say to him, your fear of losing a relationship, of losing a love is getting in the way of you finding one. So let's
Mhm.
work on that. All right, let's move on to Sarah, who is the other dater in Singapore, who, when we see her, is recovering from what she calls her horrific date with Sean.
I'm sorry, being showered with gifts and high quality food and drink is so awful.
It was kind of bad, though.
It was I was being sarcastic.
So we can agree that Sean was pretty bad. He was classless. He was tacky. And she does deserve to have a next chance date. This is her third date now in Singapore. And this one is going to be at a gym.
Again, with the martial arts. This is the second one that we've seen this season, which is strange.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen much of this, and yet now we have two of them.
Yep.
Okay, just something of note.
Of course, Sarah's attitude towards having a gym date is ew, gross. She doesn't think that it's very cute. My gosh, it's just like nothing satisfies this woman. Nothing makes her happier than when she's complaining about something. She always finds fault.
And she was questioning Dolly's ability to find her someone who is a match. And we also had the same concerns with Dolly. However, she's begun to prove us wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see how this one goes.
Yes. EJ, the muscle bound business owner who Dolly calls the perfect balance for Sarah. Okay, perfect balance. Really?
I thought this was absolutely hilarious. First of all, he is very good looking, very good looking. And, he owns a bunch of gyms and he's very active. And I appreciated that he got a trainer from his gym to train them. I think it was in Muay Thai.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't, he's teaching her, he's holding the power. It's let's do this together, let's have fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was absolutely hysterical when he was doing his individual interview and he said, she seems bimbo-ish. I'm like, is he going to be too good for her?
Exactly. That's the question. Is EJ too good for Sarah?
The answer is yes.
Yeah, they do the Muay Thai, which looked like a lot of fun. But of course, Sarah, the self-described girly girl, just kind of flails around giggling because she's not comfortable. This is not her usual date. She wants to be pampered. She wants to be treated to dinner and a spa, I guess. And she makes this claim during the punch boxing, kickboxing stuff that
Activity.
this is Dolly's last chance. So just like dear old Tony, Sarah is the one who's giving the matchmaker a last chance. I love it when they try to reverse the roles. It's quite hilarious. But EJ did redeem himself a little bit in Sarah's eyes when he gave her flowers after the Muay Thai event. Okay, great. So she's getting her reward for being a good sport. And this is her love language, to receive gifts. So now they're getting to better footing together. And she is appreciative. And I was like, wow, she does have an appreciative mode. This is nice to know. Then they go
Few
for drinks.
few and far between. But when he was explaining why he wanted to invite her to the gym for her to see it, I thought that that was very real of him. This is my life. This is what I've built. I'm proud of it. He wasn't particularly showing off. It was just, if you can't appreciate, what I've built, I forget what his actual phrasing was, but like, if you can't appreciate this, then I don't want to be with you.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to not only own a gym, but to own several, I think is very impressive, because gyms aren't typically like, you don't make a ton of money with gyms, but you do when you're able to franchise them and or have several locations. And then I wondered, is her plan to move to Singapore? Because would he give up his businesses for her, or would he maintain his businesses if he moved to the States? What would that look like? Because I don't think she has identified where she wants to live. She just said, I want to meet a Singaporean man.
Right. That's a great question. I hadn't really considered it. My first impression is, oh, she wants to live in the States because she wants to have all of her creature comforts. She wants her mom nearby, which, by the way, we were mistaken. Remember, in a few episodes back, we were saying that she lives with her mom because she was on that date with Freddie, I think it was name
The first
was.
one?
Yeah, who lived with his mom, and she was poo-pooing that. But then it turned out that her mom lives on the same street as her, not in the same house. So, but her mom is very close by. She's very attached to her. So why would she leave the US to live elsewhere, especially so far away?
And then I have a
I don't know.
question. She said that she has her own business back in the States. Do you know what that is?
I don't recall.
Anyway, so she's an entrepreneur. He's an entrepreneur. He's obviously like, he's got his shit together. He's
He
very
asked
good
some
looking.
he asked some wonderful questions when they're having drinks, and I was very happy to see them getting to know each other more deeply on this personal level after the
Yes.
activity, which is great. I think that's essential when you're having a first date. You really need to know something about the person in order to figure out if you want to see them again. So that was well and good. Sarah seems to like him more than she did at the outset of the date. He seems to like her more than he did at the outset of the date when he said that she was like a bimbo. So this is all going swimmingly. There seems to even be some chemistry. There's a lot of laughter, there's a lot of smiling, there's a lot of twinkling eyes. I think there is potential here, unless there is one of the deal breakers that comes up for her, like not enough money or not enough razzmatazz. I don't know, clothes that she likes, whatever.
I don't know if we saw the same date.
Oh, okay. Do tell.
I felt that, yeah, they were both being vulnerable with sharing their experiences. However, I still felt like he was closed off, and maybe it was just the vibe that I got, but he sounded so emotionally mature. And when he mentioned that he was already married, I felt like she put up a partial wall. I didn't see the same connection that you did. I'm not saying it was a complete failure. I just didn't see the sparks fly between the two of them. And I don't know if it's because I was so focused on him calling her a bimbo. Like, could you imagine walking into a date and then, you go on several dates and then you find out that he thought that you were a bimbo at first? I think like that would be a deal breaker for her.
Yes. Yes.
So how are they going to be able to recover from that? I think she's going to nitpick about something. I think he's going to have very valid reasons why he doesn't want to see her again, or maybe reserved reasons why, maybe a second date, but probably not. But maybe this will give Sarah the motivation to go on a fourth date. I don't know. I
Mhm.
don't see that they're a match.
I didn't say they were a match, but I said, like, I felt that there was some chemistry. I felt like they were actually flirting with each other towards the end of their date. Whether or not that's enough for them to go a step further, I don't know. And I've had this feeling, like I said, that she is going to find something else to find fault with in him in order to stop herself from progressing with this relationship. Or else he's just being kind and nice to her in this moment. And what we're going to see next time is that he doesn't actually want to go out with her again.
I would think more so the latter. Though I also appreciated the fact that she was also very vulnerable, especially about her dad and going to his gravesite or the crematorium or whatever and just laying there and being with him.
I don't think you visit the crematorium because that's where people actually get burned up.
Shit. What is that called?
I don't know. It's like a memory garden or some crappy term like that.
Well, that's where
Yeah,
mine
I
dead is.
know.
They called it, you know what I mean, though. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that she visits the crematorium.
Well, she said she put her head on the gravestone. I think that would be a little uncomfortable to lie down with your head on a gravestone. Anyway,
Could be a flat one.
could be a flat one in the ground. That's possible.
I don't know,
It
but
is a sweet sentiment for her to go and spend time with dad
you know
when
what I'm
she
saying.
feels like she needs him. And you and I both understand that as we are dadless women now. Anyway,
Fatherless.
yes. But anyway, let's move on. Victoria and Amber, we get a 2-for-1 in Ireland.
My God, this was so cute. I love the fact that Amber and Victoria decided to have drinks together. And then I also love that Victoria invited, what was his name? Keavan
Mm-hmm.
to meet up with them both.
Darren was the one who came to meet Victoria. It was cute. I love that they're going to support each other and share their experiences of the Irish dating, what they've gone through so far. I found it hilarious that immediately Amber seemed to be jealous of Victoria's success, what she thinks of as being very successful in her date with Darren, where they get to the point of having the matching tattoos, as if this is some kind of an established relationship. Okay, you guys have gotten a tattoo together. That means it's a match made in heaven. You guys are set. What the heck am I doing? And how do I get to a date with somebody where I can get a matching tattoo?
I didn't see that either.
You didn't see that?
No, I thought that she was like, you guys are nuts.
Oh,
But
wow.
she
Okay.
loved it because
Yeah.
she was like, "Oh my god, are those titties?" I'm sorry for saying that, but she did use that word. And her laugh, like her eyes didn't reflect her laughter. She was like, "That's nuts."
But later
Wow.
on, when they're interviewing her in the hotel room as she's getting ready to go on this third or fourth date with Keavan, she's still talking about Victoria and Darren's matching tattoos. Like, she is legit jealous.
I don't think that she's jealous. I think that she's just floored that the two of them would do it.
Okay, we need to talk to her. I want to know what's really going on here.
I don't know. I thought it was can't believe that you got matching tattoos on a second date.
I was like, I can't believe that you guys got matching tattoos. I didn't get matching tattoos. I want to go on a date with a guy who wants to get a tattoo with me.
Maybe she wants to go on a date with a guy who wants to get a tattoo with her, but she doesn't actually want to get tattoos.
Okay.
I
Anyway,
don't know. I don't know. I love our different perspectives on
yeah,
this.
it's so fascinating. Okay, so Victoria is still talking about Keavan, but she's talking about the fact that they're not talking. So why is she so hung up on this guy? And why is he suggesting out of the blue that they go on an overnight trip? Is this something that the matchmaker, Katerina, has set up?
I don't know. And the fact that it's an overnight date is questionable.
Mhm.
Although he did go back to her hotel room that night. She
Yes.
claims that they did not sleep together. Okay, what is she hoping to get out of this? And then she's all like, oh, Mr. Ireland or whatever his term is. And she keeps leaning on her experience with him. But again, we know nothing about him. He's Mr. No Personality, filled with
But
an entire family of personality.
when it comes to Glenn, Mr. Ireland, she doesn't seem to be talking about him at all as if she wants to go out on another date with him.
Yes, that's true.
She talks about Keavan as if he is all that and she wants to go out with him again. And yet she seems reluctant to do so because of this lackluster texting.
But she said it's been 3 days. That's a long time to
Yeah.
not talking to someone who is actively in your country to date. How many
Yes.
dates has she had in those 3 days that you know of?
3, maybe?
No, I know I'm just saying, like,
Yeah. No, no,
would
no,
he
I
not be a
understand.
little more proactive?
But you said, "What is Keevan getting out of it that he's asked her on an overnight date?" I think the more salient question is, what is she
She
getting out of it? Or what can he get from her? Because when they went to the hotel, let's say she's telling the truth and they did not sleep together. They did make out. For sure, we know that. She said there was some kissing and stuff going on.
and it was
So,
on video, we saw it.
well, there was the stuff in the
Bar.
pub that we saw, but this for the hotel we did not see. Either they did do the deed and he wants to do it again, which is why he's got this overnight date planned for her, or they came sufficiently close to it that he thinks he will get it on the next date, and that's what he's after. Because I don't really think that a guy who you go out on 2 dates with, that you have your stars in your eyes and you're just giggling all the time and making out and having all these passionate little moments here and there, you bring back to your hotel and then they ghost you, in effect, is gonna ask you out for an overnight date because actually they felt really connected to you and they wanna build on that.
I wonder
That
if he
doesn't
got cold feet. He's like, "This is too real. It's too fast. I'm not sure about this." But the overnight date, I think, is a bit much, especially for the 3rd date.
If he did get cold feet, I don't think he'd be asking her out on an overnight. If he got cold feet and recanted, thought, okay, yeah, actually, she is a good person. I want to spend more time with her. He would do it in such a way that it was a limited time frame, a dinner, a lunch, a coffee, not let's go and spend at least 24 hours together.
Yeah, I don't know.
Eesh.
All very valid questions. I have no answers.
The final thing that I wanted to bring out is that Amber says Keevan is allowing Glenn to swoop in, Mr. Ireland. So that doesn't make sense because how would Keevan know about Glenn? Number one. And he's just asked you out for an overnight date. That is swooping in. So why are you complaining that Keevan is not doing the swooping and that Glenn is doing this? Do you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of swooping and she's not really making any sense.
I
He's
think it's
swooped.
it's the span of time.
Okay.
Again, he doesn't know how many people that she's gone on a date with. He's allowed this opportunity for her to flourish with someone else to create another connection.
Mm-hmm.
Is this love bomb?
Well, Katerina brings that up. She says that Keevan is her dating future, so the potential that she has,
Yes.
and Glenn is Amber's past because he was love bombing her. So Keevan supposedly would be this healthy relationship, but I feel like Katerina's got it backwards. I think Keevan is taking advantage and trying to love bomb Amber. And I think Glenn, he's not necessarily the healthy relationship that lies in her future. I think he's playing the part of the hero, of the man who's going to sweep you off your feet. But I really don't believe that Keevan is the good guy in this equation.
You're right, because we've talked about this several times before privately about the push and the pull, the love bombing and the removal of the attention just
Yes.
to return to the love bombing. And that in the short period of time that we've had, this is Keevan. He hasn't responded in 3
Yeah.
days. And, if,
Yeah.
if we had a phenomenal date, we had a great time, unless you're, like deployed or something. I don't want to say dramatic, but you're like Harold. He's off for 3 months. He has a very limited amount of time with his phone. He's super busy with work. He just doesn't have time. We don't know what he's doing,
Yeah.
but it's that infinity symbol again. Love bomb. Ignore. Love bomb.
Yeah.
Is that what we're looking at, or are we just not seeing the full picture?
I feel like it is classically what we're looking at with Keevan, that he comes in hard, fast, strong. I am the man. You will love me. We are kissing. We are going all the
In
way.
public, and people are commenting on it. Oh, yeah, you get it.
Hmm.
You get it.
And then he withdraws his attention. He makes her feel less than. And then he swoops back in with oh, I'm going to offer you this nugget of attention. She latches onto it. And then he's going to let her go again.
Well, you want to talk about latching on to attention for the next one, am I right?
Yes. Lovely, Monica.
Sorry, how's that for a segue?
Perfect. Beautiful. Couldn't have done it better. She breaks my heart. Bruno is
He's so lovely.
he is a true man. He's masculine, he's strong, he's supportive, he's understanding, he's caring, he's sweet, he's gentle. He
He's
does everything.
emotional.
He's so in tune with his emotions. He knows how to talk. He's honest, forthright. This man is the complete package, and she is still flippin' thinking about Bernardo the weasel.
Okay, before we get into that, I want to say
Mm.
how irritated I was when she showed up. Everything was, oh my God, it's so cute. Your place is so cute. This, oh my God, you're making dinner. That's so cute. Like, can you think of another word, please?
You're not 14.
I just,
I know.
I love the fact that he had already started preparing dinner before she showed up. His place was clean. It was tidy. Though it was very minimalistic. And I wondered, is this a rental like we've seen with Mahogany? But it didn't seem that way because it was like a gated area. And anyway, I don't know. Clean, tidy. There were no pictures on the wall, but that could just be his preferences. And I wonder if that was his personality. Simplistic, non-personal until he gets to know the person. But that's just not how he exhibits it in his home life. And then as I was typing this out, I was like, is this his personality? And then he says, I'm a simple guy. Like, thank you for answering my question as I'm typing it out. And then I also wonder the very important question, what did he make?
I know. I know you would. I mean, it's Brazil, so let's assume that it's something to do with pork.
It looked like there was shrimp.
Oh, seafood. Okay.
It almost looked like a pad thai.
There were noodles, weren't there?
So I'm not sure, but the fact that she didn't say, "Oh my God, this such and such is amazing," she just said, I'm surprised she didn't say, "Oh, it's so cute." Like,
Oh, the
she's
shrimp is so cute. Well, she does seem over the moon about Bruno, but then she starts automatically sabotaging herself and her feelings, questioning everything and bringing in the guilt over Bernardo.
but she also kind of does that almost like self-soothing affection. Her holding his hand up to her mouth for what
Oh.
seemed like an eternity.
Yeah, that was weird.
And just like the random kisses. It was so awkward. That was like the longest hand kiss that I've ever seen. But then when they stand up and, they kiss and he holds the back of her neck, I was like, oh God, jeez. That, okay.
Yep,
Whew,
we know what that does.
whew. That was so hot. And then I said, oh my God, I really hope that they don't have sex. But because Louisa has said, no kissing,
Yeah.
no sex. And yet she's broken every single, I mean, she hasn't had sex yet, but the no kissing, she's broken that on every date. We're talking about 3 days now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every friggin' date. I can understand her not being able to control herself during this date. He's made you dinner. It's so beautiful. He invited you into his home. And he's such a beautiful human being. And they're dancing and they didn't make a point of it during the show, but like he moved the coffee table out of the way so they had room to dance. It was so sweet. I loved it so much. And then, my God, she keeps thinking about Bernardo, the F boy who apparently wants kids versus the stable man who doesn't want kids, who has been completely and utterly honest with you, vulnerable with you, yet you still keep thinking about the other one. You, ma'am, are the problem.
I concur 100%.
He even cooked for you. Like, come on.
My last note was if Monica can't see the prize that's right in front of her, then there is no hope.
And she doesn't deserve the prize.
Well, let's hold off on that judgment because we don't know yet if she's going to choose Bruno or Bernardo. And if she chooses Bruno, then relief, yes, she actually recognizes a good man when she is confronted with one. But if she chooses Bernardo, then you pretty much can forget about her having a long-term relationship in the future. This is no.
I don't even want to get into that at this point. I just want to appreciate Bruno for everything that he is and everything that he isn't because he deserves that.
If Monica ends up not being with Bruno, Bruno will find somebody in no time because his Instagram, social media is going to be flooded with women who have seen this show, who are single, who are interested in going to Brazil to meet a really great guy.
If he has Instagram.
Doesn't everybody?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Fair enough. Any last comments?
The producers have done an incredible job. The people that they have hired have been very
Watchable?
Thank you. Yes.
Let's go do another podcast on the other show.
Okay.
Okay. Before we go, if you're enjoying the 90 Day Fiancé Honestly podcast, please subscribe to or give a show a follow. If you have an additional moment, please rate us and help other 90 Day fans to find our show. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next week.